Welcome back to my channel, guys. As you can tell from the title and from what's going on right here in front of me, I have a baby now. So yeah, the last time we talked, I'm pretty sure I was telling you guys about being pregnant and how I found out I was pregnant, and now the baby's here. So sorry that I dipped. I basically hit the third trimester and just things just went downhill from there. What they talk about when they say you get all that energy in the second trimester, and then the third trimester is just you surviving, sleeping a lot. Yeah. Yes. But I wanted to, of course, come back. As you guys can tell, like I said by the title, today we're gonna talk about my birth story. I actually ended up having a C-section. So I ended up having a C-section, and basically when I was around 33 weeks, 34 weeks, Hayden and I went and did a 3D 4D ultrasound, which I highly recommend. Loved it. It was so cute. It was one of the first times we got to see her smile, which was so cute, and we saw how she basically stole my face. Some people will debate about this in the comments, that she looks like Hayden, that she looks like me, but whatever. Anyway, back to the story. We went to do our ultrasound, and basically while we were there, the nurse who was doing our ultrasound was just like, hey, have you guys had an ultrasound recently? And I was like, no, because wasn't having a high-risk pregnancy, so my midwife was just like, we will check you with ultrasounds and stuff like that as needed, if she isn't growing the way she's supposed to, if you're having any issues, if your placenta's having any issues, stuff like that. So we basically had not had an ultrasound since I was in my second trimester. So she was like, yeah, you're breached. And I was like, what? And so for those of you who don't know what breached is basically when the baby's head is head up. So when you deliver, they're supposed to be head down. Their head is supposed to start getting into place around your third trimester. And it's just so that they can, come out easily. And so basically she was like, yeah, you're breached. She's in your rib cage. Her head was in my rib cage, and they were just you might want to tell your midwife about that. Now I was 30 something, 33, like I said, 33, 34 weeks. So when I told my midwife, she wasn't really that concerned about it, just because even though I was in the third trimester, and that's when they should start moving into place, at that 33, 34 weeks, there's still time for them to move. So basically she was like, yeah, we'll keep an eye on it. We'll check you at your next appointment to see if she has moved, if she hasn't, and we'll go from there. And I was like, okay, cool, because I really trusted my midwife. The way she delivered the message was way better than it was received at the ultrasound appointment. With the ultrasound 4D 3D appointment, the lady was basically making it seem like it was this big deal thing, but when I talked with my midwife, she was like, yeah, it happens. And I was like, okay, I'm okay, it happens. So basically we came back to our next appointment, and she was still head up. They did the ultrasound to check, and she was still head up, booty down, all of that good stuff. And I was like, okay, great, stubborn as always, just like your mom. But yeah, so we went and saw my midwife again, and so at this point, I believe I was about 34, 35 weeks when we did that second ultrasound thing. And so she was like, yeah, you're still breached, but again, she could still flip, because apparently babies flip all the way up until they can flip the day before delivery. It's a thing. Babies just do whatever they want in your womb, apparently. So yeah, they were she could still flip. She told me that just to kind of like monitor her and see, because you can feel when they flip, just because it's such a large movement for them to go from up top to all the way down bottom. And so she was just like, you know, we'll just keep an eye on it. You're doing great. Like, her heartbeat was great. Everything was great. So there was nothing really to be like concerned about. It was literally just that she was head up. So we went on from there. At that point, I started like looking up like ways to flip her, because I just was like, you know, I had gone to birthing classes. I wanted to give birth like the normal way or whatever. And I was like, you know what, like, let's try and figure out how to flip this baby. So it was honestly really comical after a while. Like, Hayden was like laughing at me because I was like trying to ice her out. I was like trying to hang upside down. I was bouncing on the ball. There was one time I was like going ham. I was like icing the top of her. Like, I had 2 ice packs on the top of my stomach. I had the heating pad on the bottom of my stomach, and I was like bouncing on the ball at the same time. Like, I was trying to do whatever I could just to get this baby to flip. But I do remember there was one day when I was icing her that I just like felt like she was really unhappy. She was really uncomfortable. And I don't know for sure, but like, she got the hiccups. My poor baby gets the hiccups a decent amount. And she got the hiccups, but they felt different. They kind of felt more like sobs. And I don't know if you guys know this, but apparently like babies can cry in the womb. Like, I found that out via TikTok, and then that made me sad. Like, I found this out while I was like in my 3rd trimester, and I was like over here bawling that babies could just cry in your womb and you can't comfort them because they're in your womb and you don't know. But yes. Like, I was over here just like sad and bawling about that when I found out. And so like, I thought in my head, I was like, oh no, like, is that this feeling? Because it felt like her hiccups, but it felt like different. And she was like in the middle of my stomach because the top was being like iced, but she wouldn't like turn completely. Like, her head was on the side of me, but like not down, and she was just sitting there in the middle, just like I could just feel like she was just like having this like hiccup like motion of like sobs or something like that. And I was just like, you know what, I'm done. Like, I'm not gonna like put my baby into stress or like, you know, make her feel bad or anything like that. I was just like, you know what, it is what it is. If I can't flip her, you know, maybe like it's just what is meant to be, something like that. And I stopped at that point. I didn't want to do it anymore or try anything anymore. So as we're going on, I think we are, like I said, we had that appointment where they checked her out with the ultrasound. That was like at 35 weeks. So I'm about 36 weeks. Now we go back. We're not doing ultrasounds anymore because basically like when my fluids aren't like super high, when I go to the doctor, she can basically tell that her head is like up here instead of down here, because the head is bigger than the butt. So you can like see it. And so she's just like, you know, letting me know that like, again, she could still flip, but she did want to also let me know, like, you know, there are other options and other things that we can do and stuff like that. So I was just like, I was still pretty calm. My midwife was giving me the news very well, so I do appreciate her for that. I'm not gonna lie, I was though a little sad as we were getting closer, because like in my mind, like I had said, I had wanted to give birth like the normal way, you know, the going into labor, you know, I had these ideas in my head of like what was supposed to happen. And so like finding out that she was, you know, in that position, at that point, like I said, I had let go of trying to flip her, and it was just kind of like I think I had a day where I just kind of had to like come to terms with the fact that I may not give birth to her in the way or the idea that I thought I would. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I was a little sad. I was a little sad girling that day. I remember calling my husband like way too much that day because he was still at work. And this time it was November, so he hadn't like hit his Thanksgiving break time yet. And he was just like, it's okay, everything's gonna be fine, like you're gonna be fine. And I was like, I know, but like it's just not how I envisioned it, like, and stuff like that. But that's kids for you already. But yeah, so basically as time went on and I like had my sad girl day and we were like going through, like I said, it was November, so we hit Thanksgiving. And so during Thanksgiving week, I think right before, my midwife had told me that basically her contract was ending with the facility that I was with, or the hospital that I was with, or whatever it's called. But basically her contract was ending, so she wanted me to meet another doctor just in case I gave birth to her after her contract was over. So her contract basically was ending November 30th, and my due date was December 6th. So she just wanted to make sure if I, you know, went to my due date or past my due date that there was a doctor that was there for me. So we were like, okay, cool, like this sucks because you've been here with us for the entire time, but you know, we'll schedule an appointment with this other doctor. So of course, since the next week was Thanksgiving, we had to do it that week after. So the week of Thanksgiving, I was 30, I believe, 38 weeks. Yes, the week of Thanksgiving, I was 38 weeks. And then the week after, I believe I was 39 weeks. On Thanksgiving break, and we're here at the house. I'm still bouncing on the ball. At that point I had started drinking the raspberry tea, so I was doing that because, you know, I'm still like trying to go into labor. Like at this point I'm just like, I'm a cooked chicken, I'm done. Like I'm ready to be done with this baby. And so basically, like, it was Thanksgiving Day and we were going over to my mom's for Thanksgiving. And so it was literally like right before, like the entire day nothing was going on, everything was chill, but right before we were about to leave, I started noticing like some leakage. I had like a whitish discharge, and then there was like some like small leakage that I kept seeing every time I like was going to the restroom before we were leaving. And I was just like, you know what, like we probably need to go to the doctor for this, but I really want to go just like hang out with family and eat some Thanksgiving food. Like I was craving Thanksgiving food at that time. I really just wanted some like mac and cheese, some like cranberry sauce. Like I was just wanting the feels. And so I was just like, it's fine, we'll just go to my mom's, because I had told Hayden about it and he was like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, we'll just go to my mom's. My mom's place wasn't far from the hospital, so I was like, you know what, if it continues, we'll just go to my mom's, we'll eat the food because that's what I care about right now. And then after we eat the food, then we can go to the hospital. Because, you know, like once they check me in anyway, if I'm going into labor, they always say eat before. So let's eat the Thanksgiving food. And I was like, this was all in my head. I was like, yep, that's what we're gonna do. So we like went to my mom's, we ate the Thanksgiving food. It was delicious. Thank you, Mom. And we just kind of like hung out with my mom. Once we got there, like the discharge stopped, so I was like, cool, everything's fine, there's nothing we need to like, you know, worry about. So we ended up going home afterwards. But then the next day I woke up and something told me, let me not say something, God told me, he was like, you should probably still go get checked out at the hospital. And I was like, you sure? Because I don't want to pay the bills for that, because, you know, it's not time yet, I don't think. And he was like, you should still go, just go see what happens. And I was like, okay. So I woke Hayden up because, like I said, it was like the morning time. And I was like, you know, let's go check, make sure, and just like, you know, make sure everything's okay. So we basically like get to the hospital. How it works is that you go to like the labor and delivery section of the hospital, and you basically just tell them like, hey, I'm having like discharge, or hey, I'm having blah 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 blah, and then a nurse will come and get you. They like walk you down. They'll like place you in a room, and then basically they come like do all the stuff that they need to do. Like they know what needs to happen to like check you out, in the event that you're like possibly going into labor or not. I didn't know that. The first time we went to go get checked out, I actually went to the emergency room section. I didn't know I could just go up to labor and delivery and be like, hey, yo, look at me. But yes, we get there, we get into a room, and basically they checked me to make sure that my sac, basically my sac hadn't like popped or anything like that, and that wasn't the fluid that was like leaking out, right? And so they checked that. It wasn't that, so wasn't in labor, womp womp. But they actually ended up sending all of this information to who would be my new doctor. And so my new doctor was just like, okay, so while she's there, since they had already received all of my information about me being breached, about, you know, my baby and all of that stuff, they were just like, let's go ahead and get an ultrasound to make sure is she still breached or not. Because like I said, this was Thanksgiving week, so we didn't have the appointment with her till next week, and that was going to be her first time meeting us, and I was going to be 39 weeks at her first time meeting us. So she was like, go ahead, get the ultrasound done, so we can check on that. And then she also just wanted to like run some other tests too as well. So basically a lady came in, they did the ultrasound, still breached. And at this point, you know, I'm really just like, yeah, we're probably just not giving birth to this baby via my vagina, but that's okay. After they check that, I'm thinking like they're just gonna send us home, like, you know, we're done, we're good. But they actually ended up coming in and telling us that they were scheduling us for an appointment the day after my first appointment to meet the new doctor, to basically come in and get a version, and basically have the baby. And I was like, oh, what? What are you saying? Because essentially, like, since I was already 38 weeks at that point, they didn't want to risk me going into labor with her being breached, just because it's harmful for the mom, it's harmful for the baby, like all of those things. It causes it to become like an emergency C-section thing, and they didn't want me, you know, traveling from my home to the hospital, water, you get the point. So yeah, so they were just like, yeah, so basically your doctor is just like, you know, since you're still breached, like they're gonna get you in, they're gonna do a version. And so for those of you who don't know what a version is, that's essentially where they manually move the baby. So they were just like, what we're gonna do is we're going to try to manually move her. And so if we're able to move her and she stays in that position for like longer than an hour to 2 hours, then you're good. We'll just wait and see if you go into labor on your own. But if we manually move her and it looks like she's starting to move back, we're gonna induce you. And then if we try to move her and she doesn't move at all, we're gonna give you a C-section. And I was like, oh, okay, so like next week, next Friday, I have this baby. And they're like, yeah. And I was like, okay, cool. Nice. So honestly, like, I'm grateful that I went in for that appointment, just because I feel like it set us up like really well. Because if I hadn't have gone in then, my first appointment when I had met my doctor, I believe was that next week, that would have been the first time that we had even discussed or had that conversation, and I probably wouldn't have even been like getting in to have the C-section or go through any of the process till the following week after that, just because things were like they had to book me in advance. Like this was like in advance that they had to book me and all of that stuff. So thank you, Lord, for forcing me to go per usual. But yeah, so we were like, okay, cool. At that point, we were like getting things in order, getting things planned. I know we had our bags packed, but we were still just wanting to make sure things around the house were good to go. We wanted to tell family members that, you know, hey, it's happening, you know, stuff like that. So like I said, the next week we had our appointment with my doctor for the first time of meeting her. And that I think that Monday before our appointment on Wednesday, I was kind of like looking up stuff about versions, and I was just kind of like trying to like understand like the process and what was going to happen and everything like that. And basically, like, from what I was looking up, it did seem like there were some complications with versions. I don't want to scare anyone out there because like it's a common practice thing, so it's like nothing to be worried about, nothing crazy. But I did see that there is possibility of, you know, like some complications, some risk of like the baby going into distress or stuff like that. And it didn't really like sit right with me personally, just because I was just like, you know, like I understand that I had this idea in my head, and it's like I was like, yes, it would be nice to, you know, give birth to her vaginally, you know, the normal way, like I said, or whatever. But I had just kind of come to this point, like I said before, where it's like I had that realization that I probably wasn't gonna give birth to her that way. And I feel like God kind of like took me on that journey for a reason, because when I started looking up that information, all my mind went to was like, I just want to make sure that this experience or whatever happens next is the safest and easiest process for her. Like I just wanted to make sure that she would be okay, that we weren't doing anything just to create this vision that I had, and that I just wanted to make sure that, like, you know, like I wasn't trying to push an agenda on the situation or wasn't trying to force something that just wasn't meant to be, you know, like not saying that you can't have a version and do vaginal birth and everything go perfectly. Just for myself personally, it just didn't feel like it would probably end up going that direction for me, and I just didn't want to force it, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I just like kind of took a step back and I thought about it, and I called my husband and I was just like, you know what? I don't think I even want to do the version. Honestly, I think I just want to do the C-section, you know, because it would just be an easier process for her. There wouldn't be any chance of her like heartbeat racing. I didn't really like the idea of being induced, because my mom was induced with me because I took forever to come out in labor. Stubborn queens. But yeah, I took forever to come out. And then when she was induced with me, my heartbeat like dropped, and then she had to have a C-section. And so like just knowing that history in my family, I just didn't want to go through all of that, because I just knew like if her heartbeat dropped, I was going to start freaking out. If I started freaking out, that doesn't help the baby and all of those things. So all of that was going on in my head, and I was like, you know what, like let's just cut to the chase. Let's do the C-section. Let's get it done. You know, let's be done. During my birthing classes, they'd explained a C-section to me and stuff like that. So it wasn't anything I was scared about. It was just like something that I hadn't planned for, if that makes any sense. So yeah. And so I had come to that conclusion on Monday, And basically on Tuesday, my doctor called me like the day before our appointment and was just like, hey, so I don't think you're gonna be a good candidate for aversion. And I was just like, oh, really? Like, really? And she was like, yeah. So basically, like, where your placenta is, you basically would be a high risk for aversion. So basically my placenta was anterior instead of posterior. And so when they manually turned the baby, since my placenta was more to the front than the back, they didn't want to risk like interfering or harming the placenta as it was turning, because that's kind of where your baby gets their oxygen, their food, all of that good nutritional stuff. And so they didn't want to, you know, have any issues there that would of course lead to an emergency C-section, harm the baby and harm me. So when she basically told me that information, I was just like, okay, cool. Because like I said, Monday, I had already come to the conclusion that I didn't want it. And I was just like, you know, thank you, Lord, again, because I just feel like he really walked me through that process and allowed me to go through all of those feelings before I even got to the news of what was going to happen. And it just really helped my peace of mind and everything like that. Like, I was calm when she gave me that news. It wasn't something that like I was crying about, stressing about. Since I'd already, like I said, go through the birthing classes, I knew how the C-section was handled and everything like that. So when we went to our appointment the next day and she was just like, yeah, so we're just gonna schedule you for a C-section, I was totally cool with it. I was like, yeah, like, let's do it, let's go ahead with that. And she basically just walked us through the process. So for a C-section, since it was scheduled and planned, they basically just like have you go in there, you sign paperwork and fill out some paperwork that just basically says that, you know, you're okay with them doing surgery on you. You understand the risk of them like doing surgery on you. With the C-section, you do get anesthesia. Instead of it being the epidural, it's like a prick, like an anesthesia prick that they like put in your back. But it's just like a one time. So the epidural is like a continuous thing that you can like push and receive medicine over time, whereas the anesthesia prick is just like a one time thing. But yeah, so they have you sign documents that you're cool with receiving anesthesia. They go over like your name, stuff like that, all that paperwork. And then basically since we were like already scheduled to go, because my doctor had been proactive in like scheduling that even before our first appointment, since we were already scheduled and set to go for literally the next day, like all of this literally happened within a week. They were just like, yeah, so we'll see you tomorrow morning. They have you show up at least an hour before your C-section. So I believe we were supposed to be there around like 5, 6-ish. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, so we were supposed to show up at like 5, 6. So we showed up. The traffic was great. So we loved that because there was like no one on the streets at like 5, 6 a.m. And so we showed up, we got there. And they basically like, you get checked in at the front. They give you your IV. So there was a nurse who came in and gave me my IV. Love her life. Because I have tiny veins and she somehow like got the IV needle in there. I don't know if you guys have ever seen those needles before, but like, they're not like the biggest needles ever, but they don't have like really small versions. They got like two options. There's like a large one and a medium one. And so that's the only 2 options. And like with my small veins, like throughout most of my pregnancy, I had to have like an infant's butterfly needle for them to like get blood out of me, basically. But she somehow got that IV in me and it stayed like the entire time. So chef's kiss, love her. And they basically like come in, they shaved the area that they were going to be like doing the C-section in, just because they want to make sure it's like a clean area. I was actually going to get wax before, and I'm glad I didn't, because I looked it up and they basically said don't get a wax if there's a chance you might end up having a C-section, just because it's not good for the area to be like that clean, if it makes any sense. Like some stubble is okay, but you don't want it to be like freshly waxed. They were like, preferably if you're gonna get a wax, get it like 2 weeks out before, if you're gonna have a C-section or something like that. So glad I didn't do that. So they just shaved me down themselves, and I got dressed, and then your spouse or significant other, whoever's gonna be in the room with you, they give them like a full garb outfit. So Hayden got dressed. I may insert some pictures of that because it was hilarious, like his outfit and everything like that. So he got dressed and he was just kind of like hanging around in his outfit, because he kind of actually got dressed before we even needed to. But yeah, because like once they put the IV in you, they kind of like want to pump at least one full IV in you. Got my IV in my arm, and so we were just waiting for the full IV to get in my system before the anesthesiologist could come in and basically administer my anesthesia. She's starting to wake up a little bit. She also makes like funny sounds in her sleep. So she also, no, she's not waking up. She's just making those sounds in her sleep. But yeah, so basically after that, IV had fully gotten in my system and we chilled for, I think, about like 30 minutes. They then come in, and so they put you in a bed. Well, no, they will your bed out there. Yeah, that's what happened. So they willed my bed out there. Whoever your spouse, significant other, person that's going to be in the room with you is, they have them like wait at the end of the hall while they get you all like prepped and situated. So basically once the OR room, or whatever room it is called, don't quote me on that, but once the room is ready, they take you into the room, and they basically like, you sit down on this like table. It's like a bed, but it's like a small bed. Like it's a very weird like small bed. I was worried about it being uncomfortable, but once they give you that anesthesia, you don't feel shit. But anyway, basically like you get up on the bed and they have you kind of like hunch over. So the same situation that you've seen for people getting epidurals, where they like hunch your back and stuff like that, it's the same situation for like the spinal anesthesia tap thing that they do. So they had me hunch over. I like held a pillow, and they basically put the needle in my spinal bracket thing. I'm not versed in these words, so if you're a nurse, please forgive me. If you're a doctor, please forgive me. But yeah, so they basically like, you know, put that in there. Honestly, from my personal experience, again, my personal experience, it was not that bad. It was really like I felt a prick, but it didn't feel like horrible. And they just kind of have you like breathe through it. There was a nurse that was there with me, and she kind of just stood in front of me, kind of talked to me, and was just like, you know, you're doing great, stuff like that. And I kind of was able to like rest my hands on her shoulders and stuff like that. So that was really nice and really sweet of her, because I'm not gonna lie, when I was in that room, the OR room or whatever, it was giving very like cold, stale, like, oh, we about to like really do this. And like I said, Hayden wasn't in there because they had him waiting down the hallway, and I was just like, you know, y'all gonna open me up on this table and dump my guts out. Like I was feeling it. Like I was anxious, like my heart rate was like jumping. So I'm not gonna lie to you, like it was a little like so it was nice to have her there to kind of like, you know, help calm me down a little bit. And I kind of like having her there, having her like telling me to breathe, kind of like checked me in and was like, you're gonna have this baby, this is happening, like nothing's going wrong in this room, focus, let's get this done. So that's basically like what was going through my mind when they like put the needle and stuff in. I was like, breathe, you got it, you can do it. Like, you've been stuck with so many needles all the way up until this point because they take so many blood tests and so many blood draws from you. It's crazy when you're pregnant. So I was like, you can do this, you got it, you got a whole IV in your arm, like you're needled galore. So basically, like once they finish that, they lay you down on the table. And so like you basically, they will check in with you to see how the numbness is going. And then they put up the wall thing. So I don't really know what they were doing on the other side because my legs were going numb. Like they were going numb. And so the anesthesiologist checked with me, like he had like a little pin prick. And so he like pricked my arm and he was like, okay, so like tell me when you stop feeling the prickiness. And so he went from like, I think it was like from my arm like down, and I think I stopped feeling it like right around here, like right above. And so he was like, okay, perfect, like that's where we want it, because they want it to be like a little above your hips, I believe, but not too much, because they don't want it in like your chest and heart area, because then you could like freak out because you can't like feel yourself breathing, if that makes any sense. So like they want it below your chest area, but like a little above your hips, so like in your ab area, if that makes any sense. But yeah, so they basically were checked that out. I was numb at that point. And so like during that time, I believe he was like checking in on me to see if I was okay. And I started laughing at one point because I had tried to like lift my leg, because I was like, you know, wanting to see like if I fully couldn't feel anything down there. And I couldn't. I could not feel my leg at all. And the anesthesiologist was like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I just tried to lift my leg and I couldn't. And so, I don't know why that was like so funny to me, but it just like, it made me laugh. And it kind of also like kind of took some like nervousness off of it. So I may have needed that laugh. I don't know what, but they also, since the room, like I said, is like a cold, like it's one of those rooms where you see when they do like the surgeries and stuff like that in the Grey's Anatomy and stuff. It was like one of those rooms. So I was just like, but since it's cold in there, they put a blanket across your shoulders and stuff, like a warm blanket, which is really nice. And my anesthesiologist, he was just really nice. He was a really sweet guy. He really just like kept checking in on me. They make sure you're breathing properly. There was a point in time when, because they put some, I don't remember exactly what it was, but they put some type of medicine in my IV. And it was burning, like it was burning upon delivery in my arm. And that was the only thing that was uncomfortable. Everything else, I was chilling. I was like a cucumber because I couldn't feel shit. So basically I told him that, and he was like, okay, like I'll lower the delivery of it. Like I'll slow the delivery down for you so that it's not burning. And so once he did that, it was great. Like everything was great. So they finished whatever they were doing down below me. I think they shaved me again because they didn't like the way the other girl shaved me. And then they were getting all their stuff prepped and everything. And then they basically sent for Hayden. So he came in. They have them like stay behind the curtain, so they don't want them to see anything because it's a major surgery, and they just don't want your loved one to be like traumatized by seeing you just like sprawled on a table cut open. So basically, like he came and he sat in a stool like right here by my head, And he just like talked to me. We just kind of like talked and we're just having conversation, and they basically like started like doing the surgery on the other side. My anesthesiologist would pop over from time to time, so he kind of kept us like up to date on what was going on. Because like we could hear stuff that was happening, but like I said, I couldn't feel anything, and you know, Hayden wasn't supposed to look. So basically like at some point they like cut me open. I felt some tugging. They did ask me if I would feel like if I had felt any tugging, and they did tell me in advance that like I would feel some. So like I did feel like some tugging and stuff like that. And then I think like right before they pulled her out, my anesthesiologist was like, they're almost there, they're about to like, you know, she's coming. So like I felt like a big tug, but it didn't hurt. Like I don't want to scare anyone, like it didn't hurt. It just kind of felt like if someone like tugged your arm quickly, that's kind of like what it felt like. And so like they did a tug, and then we just hear like that. That's what we heard essentially. But yeah, so she was born at 8:28 a.m. She had a little bit of fluid that got in her lungs, so she kind of sounded like a little duck when she came out. And she was like crying, and like we heard her on the other side of the sheet just like crying. And they were just like, oh, she got some lungs on her. And she still do. And so they basically like took her over, because they take them over to like the little baby incubator stuff, and they like clean them up and everything. They weigh them, make sure like everything's okay. And so since she had some like of the amniotic fluid that got into her lungs, they basically were just over there kind of like sucking that out, getting rid of that and stuff like that. So they had her for a bit, and Hayden, like we could see her, but we couldn't like see her, if that makes any sense. Like she was like not across, but she was like over there in the thing, and we like kept like peeping over, and we were like talking to each other, and we were just like, oh, I guess she's here. Like we're like, oh, she's got lungs for sure. But yeah, so Hayden and I were talking to her, and then basically while they were doing that, they of course were starting the process of like finishing me up, so delivering my placenta, making sure that like they got the blood. She just fell out the thing, didn't she? Okay, I mean, if that's comfortable for her, that's fine for me. But making sure that they got, you know, the blood wasn't like crazy, stitching me up. Apparently there's like multiple layers of stitches that they do, so it's not like just a top stitch thing. It's like they stitch you from like the inner out, basically. So they had started doing all of that stuff while they the other nurses were cleaning her, prepping her. She was yelling at them, which is hilarious because she still yells at people to this day. Like I remember one of the nurses was just like, oh, why are you fighting me? I'm trying to help you, why are you fighting me? And so we were like listening to him say that. It was just like, oh, sounds like our daughter. Yep, sounds like her. Because I'm telling you, my entire pregnancy, she was something. Like the breech thing, honestly, wasn't surprised that she would do something like that, because it was just like my entire pregnancy she just did what she wants, and she still does what she wants. So yeah. Like after I had been all stitched up, before they finished with me, they actually brought her over to Hayden, so he got to see her and hold her first. And so he brought her over to me so I think I have like a picture of it, so I'll try to insert it as long as like my tits aren't hanging out. But yeah, he brought her over to me, and kind of like held her close to me so I could like see her from the side and stuff like that. And then once they finish getting you all stitched up and stuff, they send your partner, whoever's gonna be with the baby, they send them back to your room. So the same room that we got set up in, they send them to that room. And they then basically like clean you up, get you all situated, and then that bed that they brought you down in, they bring that in. And since you basically cannot move, they lift you from the table that you're on back onto the bed, which was a very interesting experience for me. I was like, what? But yeah, so they lifted me from there onto the bed. I'm almost done, mamas. But yeah, they lifted me from there onto the bed, and they did just basically like wheeled me back into the room, and we just did skin to skin from there. So once they got me into the room, they basically just kind of unclipped some of my like buttons, and they placed her on my chest, and we just kind of like hung out, and I was like looking at her because that was my first time really seeing her, and she was just so cute, and she just like cuddled up on my chest. I remember though, like it was a weird feeling though that first day. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, like I don't know if it was just like I didn't fully grasp that I had a child, or if it was just like maybe it was the way I had her. But like that first day, I really felt like, oh my gosh, cute baby. But I didn't feel that like, oh my gosh, this is my baby, I love her feeling. It was just like, that's a super cute baby. Like, she's so cute. Like really nice baby. But yeah, so basically I'm like holding her, like I said, cute baby. My husband did skin to skin with her, and they came in and like checked my stitches. So how they do that is they put pressure on it. So they want to make sure that no blood is like coming out like profusely, because they want to make sure that like they stitched you up well enough, like I said, through all of those layers, that it's like compact enough and that you aren't just gonna like start like ripping a stitch and bleeding everywhere. So that part was a little uncomfortable, because like I said, they press on it to make sure that no blood like pops up, and nothing like crazy is happening. And they kind of do that every was it every like hour or every 2 hours? It was like something like that, that they do it. So basically, like, I apparently, like, kudos to my doctor. She did an amazing job. Like, if I could show you guys my incision, I would, because it's so good. Like, it's really not detectable in the placing that it's at, the way that she did it. Like, I will wear a bikini one day, you won't be able to tell. But anyway, like how she did it and how everything was done, it was basically like really good. So they needed space because apparently everyone and their mom was giving birth that day. So they took us from labor and delivery up to the second floor, which is the nursing. Yes, I believe that's the nursing wing. And so like they told me I would get a new bed, but they just wheeled my bed that I had into a new room up in the nursing area or whatever it's called. And I was just like, Hayden pointed that out to me later. Ma'am, Hayden pointed that out to me later, and I was like, oh yeah, I was supposed to get a new bed, but it's okay. It's fine. I'm not gonna hate on you, Medical City Louisville. You were nice to me, so I'll forgive the whole bed situation. But yeah, so they took us up there, and at that point we basically just like had a baby. Like they were just like, you know, the nurses that were with me from labor and delivery were just like, you know, congratulations. They gave us like a little hat with bows on it. They were super sweet, super nice. And then they just basically left us in the care of the nurses that were up there with us. And I don't know where we were. Okay, I keep saying the nursery, but that's not what it was. It was the other floor. We were on the other floor where you have the babies and you can have visitors and stuff like that. So we were up there, and my legs had not gotten feeling back just yet. It was like coming back slowly, but it wasn't fully there. I could tell that I was starting to gain feeling though, because like I said, they came and pressed on my stomach every like 2-3 hours, and it started to become more and more uncomfortable when they would come and press on my stomach. I was just like, and they would be like, I'm sorry, and I was like, it's fine, it's fine. But yeah, so when they're typically born, they're pretty like chill. So they just had her up there in the little like baby bin. I think someone had taken her and swaddled her at some point in time, and she was just chilling in the bin. Hayden would like hold her from time to time, and I think we started having visitors later that day. I think either Hayden's parents came or my mom came or both came. I don't fully remember, but basically the main things that I just wanted to point out before I wrap this up is just that when you have a C-section, they basically won't let you have like food until you can walk, essentially. And so yeah, since I had her in the morning, they told me this like before lunch, and I was just like, what? I was like, hold on, wait a minute, because I'm hungry. Like I said, like the day before, they have you like fast before your surgery. So I hadn't eaten anything since like 10 o'clock the day before, and then they were just like, yeah, so we can't give you any like food, but you can have like broth and smoothies. And I was like, broth and smoothies, man, I want some chicken. What is you talking about? And it's just because like they want to make sure that your digestive system and everything can move and be used properly, because you have a catheter in, but like, you know, you're not moving your legs, so they don't want you to like have to go use the restroom and stuff like that and not be able to, and constipation, all those great things. So they told me that at lunch. I think my mom came and visited me at like she came to visit us before lunch, and she was like, you know, like since she had a C-section, she's like, you know, like you want to make sure that you can like get up and walk and like push yourself. Don't like push yourself too much, but like, you know, do what you can, because like, you know, you just went through major surgery, but you still want to make sure that your body is recovering. And they also brought out that broth when she was there, and she like tried to hook it up for me. If you have a black mom, you understand. She was like trying to do all of these things for me, but it was not giving. Okay, it was not. I was hungry. So basically when they came back later, they were just like, do you want to try and walk? And I was like, yes. Yes, ma'am, please. Because I wanted dinner. I wanted dinner food. I was just like, I don't want this broth again. Like, don't get me wrong, the first broth that they gave me, it was like chicken noodle soup that they just took all of the noodles and stuff out of, so it wasn't horrible. But the second broth that they gave me, that was chicken water. It was seasoned water. And I was like, I know I'm not surviving on this. I'm hungry. So, yeah, so when they came back, they were just like, okay, like, you know, we'll try to dangle your feet over. If you feel the courage to, we'll take a step. And I was like, I'm going to take a step. So then we did the feet dangling over. I took a step, and they were like, if you feel okay, you can keep trying. And I kept trying. I heard my stomach growling. I heard my mom telling me like, you can do this. And I was just like, we gonna keep doing it. So I kept pushing myself. Like I said, I was not pushing myself to the point of like trying to hurt anything or anything like that. It was just like, it was more of a mental push, if that makes any sense. Like instead of to it, I was like, no, like I'm gonna do it, you know? So That's basically what was going on. It was more of like a mental thing, less of like a physical thing, because I wasn't gonna push myself physically. Like if it really had hurt me, I wasn't gonna do that. Like I was gonna sit down, I'd be fine. But like if it didn't like hurt me, if it was just like, you know, because they were still giving me pain meds. Like I said, like the feelings and stuff were like the anesthesia was wearing off and stuff, but I still had some of that like numbness in those areas. So it was just like, you know, now's the time to just, you know, like do it. And I also asked the nurses, I was just like, is it possible for me to like rip a stitch? And they were like, no, like we sewed you up really well, like you're really good. That's why they had moved me to the floor that they had moved me, because if there was any concern, they wouldn't have like moved me up there. So with that, and also just like with me being like, I want to eat, I was just like, let's do this. So I took a little steppy step around the room, and that was good enough for the nurse to say I could have dinner. And I was like, praise the Lord. Thank you. Thank you. So I actually got to eat dinner. I think it was like some like chicken and rice situation. It honestly wasn't bad. It was hospital food, but I don't know what the hospital has done recently. They had a whole like chef situation in there. Like I'm not gonna be like it was 5-star Michelin amazing. It was not that, but it was better than the hospital food I've eaten in the past. And that night, it was gourmet for me. It was delicious because I was starving. I was so hungry. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I was sipping juices and eating broth up until that moment. So when they gave me that chicken and rice, I was like, yeah. I had that, and then after that, I was like chilling there. And they asked me like if I like was feeling up to like getting my catheter taken out that night, because if I got my catheter taken out, I could shower. And I was like, yes. Yes, ma'am, I am. And so they were like, okay, cool. So we'll send the nurse in tonight to try to check and see if you're still feeling good, if you're still feeling up to it. Ma'am, that nurse came in that night and was just like, she was checking me for everything else. And I was like, so you gonna take this catheter? Can I shower? Because I will say the worst part of this entire experience for my personal C-section experience was I did get the itching. So for a C-section, when you get the anesthesia, a side effect of the anesthesia leaving your body is you just feel itchy all over the place. Like it just feels like you're just like so, your skin's just like so dehydrated, like it was the worst thing. Like getting cut open, having the stitches, like all of that pain was nothing compared to the itchiness. It was horrible. Like I hated it. I hated it. I hated it. Like I would do the C-section, go through all of the other stuff again, if I didn't have to get the itch. The itch was too much, because it was that itch where it's just like constantly in the back of your mind. Like I couldn't ignore it, and it was like all over my body. And I feel like I felt like just like a crazy person. Like I was just like, I would scratch and like Hayden would be like, stop. And I'd be like, I can't. And then I would stop myself. But then when I stopped myself, it was like, I was just tense, just like, oh my gosh, like just trying to like not think about it, but actively thinking about it. That was the worst part for me. So when they were like, if you get your catheter out, you can take a shower, honestly, that was the only thing in my head. I was just like, yes, please let me take a shower, because I had called my mom and I was like, bruh, like I need you here to bring me some lotion. I was like, because that's how dry my skin felt. Like it just felt like I hadn't like put lotion on in years. And they do make you do like a bath type situation before you come in for your C-section, just to kind of like get any residue, any lotions and stuff off, to make sure that you're clean for all of the things that they're gonna do. So in my head, I was like, maybe I'm allergic to that bath stuff that they gave me. Maybe my skin really is just like dry AF. And so I had my mom come, she got me lotion. That didn't help it. So I was just like, bath, yes, we need to do a shower, we need to do that. Because I was just trying to do whatever I could to relieve the itchiness. So they come in and they remove my catheter. Again, all of this is the same day. So I had her at 8:28. We've done skin to skin. We've moved to the next room. We had our broth lunch, decided we did not want to do that again, and did a walkie walk to get food. We've had dinner, and so this night she's just like, yeah, like I can definitely remove your catheter if that's still something you want. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So she removes my catheter. It's a very interesting and weird feeling. I didn't hate having a catheter though. I did not hate it, but the removal of it, kind of weird. But yeah, so she removed my catheter, and basically I'm able to like stand up, and they took Victory. So the nurses will take the babies if you need them to, like if you want a break, if you want to sleep, stuff like that, they'll take them down to the nursery. So they took her, she went down to the nursery, and I was able to take a shower. And we had packed like my soap and stuff like that, and we had packed me a change of clothes, which I recommend. I may do like a what was in my hospital bag video for you guys later, but yeah, I had packed a change of clothes. And so I basically took a shower. I still needed help though, so I don't want to like make it sound like I was just like amazing doing everything on my own. I still did need help. So they helped me like with changing my gauze, with changing my underwear, and stuff like that. I was just capable of standing up in the shower on my own and kind of like washing my body a little bit. Like it was still achy, it was still painy, but like I just wanted this shower so bad to try to help relieve this itchiness. And so I did that. And I also like put lotion on. It still didn't fully relieve the itchiness. It did make me feel better overall. They do give you medicines for it because it is a thing. Like it's a common thing that happens. So they do give you medicine for it. So they had given me medicine throughout the day, but it wasn't like, it was like lessening, but it wasn't subsiding the way it was supposed to. So that night they said that they could give me an ibuprofen. Why did I say ibuprofen? They said that they could give me a Benadryl. That's what it was. They said that they could give me a Benadryl to help like knock it out. And I was like, yes. So I took that shower. They gave me that Benadryl. I was still itching afterwards, but I felt I was chaotic. And honestly, I slept so good that it was just nice to get that good sleep because basically the next day I did not sleep that good because I had a baby and she was basically there with us the entire time that next night. But yeah, I don't want to continue going on and on because I can talk a lot. As you guys can tell, we've already been here for a decent amount of time. But yeah, so that was basically my experience. I got to take my shower that day. I got knocked out with that Benadryl. It felt good, felt fine. And the next day, you know, I was a mother's. I had already been a mother that day, but I'll just let you guys experience that because the first day they are pretty like chill. Like they're pretty chill when they come out. They're just like, I'm exhausted from just entering the world and having to like breathe air. So she was just really asleep the entire day. The next day was when she really started like waking up, and I had to really start like putting her on boob more and stuff like that. But I can get into all of that in another video. So yeah, my overall experience though with the C-section and everything like that was not bad. Like for my personal experience, I honestly enjoyed having my C-section. It went way smoother. I enjoyed knowing when she was gonna come. And I basically like, for me, the whole process of like getting the anesthesia, like even the process afterwards, even though like I said it was uncomfortable every time they touched my stomach, that's really what it was. It was uncomfortable. Like there was never really a point where I was in like excruciating pain throughout the time that we were in the hospital, because they kept my pain meds done pretty well. I had a nurse, her name was Verna, love her life. And she basically like staggered my medicines really well, so that when one would basically be going out, another one would be starting up. Chef's kiss to Verna. I really enjoyed most of, like, all of my nurses. There was one nurse, we're not going to talk about that. We can talk about that in another story time. But yeah, like the overall experience was not bad. So if you're someone who's like thinking about doing a C-section, maybe is getting to that point where you might have to do a C-section, don't be scared of it. It's honestly really great. It's, well, from my personal experience, again, from my personal experience, it's really not that bad. I would just go in there with, you know, an open mind, and, you know, and you'll be fine. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Sorry, this one was a little long. I could talk a bit, but yeah, bye.